Hello, and welcome to another edition of Storycasts with Story and Song. I'm your host today, Connor, and joining me is Lauren Templeton. She is an artist, she's a teacher, she's a figure in the community, and a dear, dear friend of everyone here at Story and Song. We share many of the same passions for art and the community and the way we can all be impactful of it. And Lauren is also more concretely, the owner of the Amelia Art Studio here on the island. So, Lauren, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you so much, Connor. I'm really happy to be here.
So, Lauren, could you tell us a little bit about your background as an artist and a teacher?
Yes, I am happy to do that. I was an art major in college, and I concentrated in studio art and in art history. I worked in art galleries, I did museum work, and then later on got into art education. And I've been teaching since 2007. My teaching career started in Duval County in Jacksonville, and I was lucky to land in an arts magnet school in Jacksonville. And then I began working at Amelia Island Montessori School as the visual arts specialist. And through my work at Montessori, I started doing more art tutoring and private lessons. And when that started to grow and grow, I went out and created my own private studio, Amelia Art Studio. And this summer will be 6 years in business. And at our studio, we have focused on children's programming. And we welcome artists of all ages, from toddler to teen. Our classes are focused on the principles of design and the elements of art. We're reinforcing all of those good basic concepts. And all of our lessons are infused with art history. And we also like to do cross-curricular connections. So often our art lessons have math, science, language, art brought in, and we cover everything from painting to printmaking, sculpture, ceramics, painting, drawing, and all mixed media. So quite a variety, and we're really having fun.
Wow, no kidding. I just want to touch right away on something that you talked about, which is the way you incorporate so many other subjects into your art lessons and your activities. I think that is, I mean, not only is it incredible, I think it's just so necessary for a number of reasons. For one, just right off the bat, it challenges the notion that art is somehow lives separately from the other things that we think contribute to education, like math and science and history, and the examples you gave. But I also think it shows how art can be, in my opinion, a tool for learning. And of course, this is all very ironic because I was a terrible art student in school. Which nowadays probably wouldn't surprise people because I'm kind of the go-to tech guy, but I always had my bad grades in art. I always hated it because I was like, I don't know how to study for this. But I've said to you before, Lauren, that I wish you had been my art teacher, just I guess my whole life, because I think through you I could have seen, I could have maybe flourished a little more with that.
Thank you. I would have loved to teach you art, and we still can. We're actually at a point where we're thinking of expanding, and perhaps we'll have some adult art events coming up, so stay tuned. But yes, incorporating math, science, social studies, it's just a natural part of art. It's so easy and really a natural thing to bring in these other topics. And I love to mix it up in the art classroom because I have artists that are born to be engineers. I have artists that have huge imaginations, and they need to be practicing their outside the box thinking. We have artists that are so interested in writing, and I'm sure will become writers, directors, and essayists, philosophers. So you name it. There are so many great art skills that transfer over to all these other different places, areas. And I think what we do in the art room is just so beneficial, no matter what your child's interest, what their learning style, and that goes for kids and adults. So we love art because it really is for everybody. And I know people say that, they don't have a creative bone in their body, they can't draw a stick figure. Believe me, I get that resistance from people. I'm used to finding a way past their obstacle. And I think one of the funnest things is seeing that surprise when somebody has success and figures out how to express their creativity. And sometimes it's just the right instructor and the right set of tools, the right materials, and there's that spark. So you'll have to come visit the studio soon, because I know you are the tech special skill set and everyone needs you for that. But I know what you do is also creative. So we just have to tap into that part of your brain.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. I've been threatening to visit you since before you moved to your new location, even. So one of these days, I definitely have to. So another thing that I'm thinking about, just in this discussion, is you have obviously filled a need for art education for children in this community. What do you think about the relationship of the arts in our community? Because we both know, and anyone who lives here in Amelia Island knows, that it is a very artistic community. There's a lot of different styles and interests, and how do you think? What do you think the role of that is?
I think our special community is growing its art and culture, and it's a very exciting time. A lot of artists in our community, we are predicting a big renaissance on the horizon for Amelia Island. And I think it's a combination of things that make Amelia Island the perfect destination for the arts, a perfect community to grow artists and those connections. In this place, you're surrounded by incredible nature. That unspoiled beauty is so inspiring to artists, young and old. And we are sitting on layers of history here on Amelia Island. And I think there are more art businesses coming to our community. And I think very soon we'll be seeing all kinds of art spaces popping up, new galleries, new creative spaces. And I'm very excited to be part of that. Already we have a really strong foundation here. So I know many artists are just feeling things like it's all bubbling under the surface, and lots is about to blossom. And so I think the role is growing. There's great potential. And I'm like you, Connor, I just look forward to nurturing all of that.
Well, you're obviously off to a great start. During the height and the beginning of the COVID season, you briefly switched to doing outdoor art classes in one of the city parks. And the reason that I'm thinking about this is also because you talked about, and I think this is so reticent, the way that the natural beauty of Amelia Island that we all cherish and live alongside has such an influence and an inspiration on us. When you were teaching your art classes outdoors, did you feel that nature element was really present in everything you were doing, if not overtly in the themes you were doing, but at least present as an inspiration?
Absolutely. Nature inspires art, and we've always brought that theme into the studio. Going outside and working during the fall of 2020 and the spring of 2021, we were fully immersed in that theme. And it was fantastic. We brought in a lot of plein air painting. Fortunately, our town has some great parks. Our Parks and Rec department granted me a contract, and we were able to set up and teach out at Egan's Creek Park and work under the pavilion, which provided great shelter for us. Not only that, we had a beautiful view of Egan's Creek, and we enjoyed bird watching, sort of the light changing, whether you're out there in the morning or later in the day, those twilight hours. Now, that being said, there was also rain and mosquitoes and humidity and the unexpected element of wind. Wind actually created the most havoc for us. Materials flying off, blowing off into the field, into the woods. But I have to say, our artists were so adaptable, so resilient, and it really forced me to be creative and come up with new and different ways to make things work. And working outside was just what I needed as a teacher after an extended period of teaching on Zoom. So in the beginning of the COVID season, like you said, it was all about, changing and pivoting and figuring out how to make a path forward. Of course, we were doing virtual, but after 6 weeks of nonstop art instruction online, I was ready to unplug. I was ready to disconnect, and I just got zoomed out. So retreating to the forest and heading out down to the creek to work was really wonderful. And there were many challenges. Physically, it was a lot of work, hauling all of our equipment, packing all of our supplies, and then, gathering it up and hauling it back to the studio. Physically, a ton more work, but I look back with so many great memories, and I'm just so thankful that our community provides great outdoor spaces, and we are very much open to doing art events outside, just not every day, every week, all day, all week, all month. We're glad to be back indoors with the comfort of AC and heat and a roof over our heads. We live in Florida, so it's very dramatic weather. And I think, we'll do a 20-minute drawing outside at the marina and then march on back to our safe and comfortable studio.
Air-conditioned studio.
Yes, and we'll have our outdoor fix, but then just be happy to be in the security of our safe and sound studio. It's definitely a happy thing that we are in our new place and getting settled. But it's been an adventure the last few years, trying different things and forcing myself out of my comfort zone, learning to teach online, then learning to teach outdoors full time. I really feel like I can teach anywhere. I basically had my studio in my van for the last 18 months. So, we definitely got through those tough times, and I feel really lucky to take all those great memories, but now ready to turn the page on a new chapter. But absolutely, the nature here is spectacular, and I think there's just something artistic in the air that maybe comes off the beautiful ocean waters here or comes off the marsh waters, but it's definitely a artist paradise here on the island.
Lauren, I'm imagining you, and this isn't really an imagination because it's reality, but just as this nomadic artist with your van, just,
Oh, my
traveling
poor
around.
minivan.
And well, I think that you've definitely gotten your money's worth out of it. There's no question.
Oh
You've
my
hauled
gosh.
kids and art supplies
I
and
got my
large dogs.
minivan about 3, 4 months after I launched the studio, and it is just an extension of the studio and Honda Odyssey.
I wish this was a
Can't go
promotional
wrong.
Honda Odyssey
Well, the
episode.
poor van. Yeah,
Uh,
it's been put through a whole lot, but it's definitely the Artmobile.
it's funny how those tools, that's the last thing people would think. I'm like that on so many tech jobs. I'm like, what's that? If you were to ask me what's that one tool you can't leave home without, depending on what it was, I'd say something you'd never expect. Like I keep, for example, one of those specially made pins you use to take SIM cards out of phones. I've always got one in my gear bag because you have no idea how often I end up needing it. So
I
um,
would not have expected that.
I
I'm not
know
even
that's
sure
just
I know
one
what
more.
that
That's one
is.
of, well, I mean, they made it so people would stop poking paper clips into the hole when you take a SIM card
Oh,
out because it can damage the. Anyway, it's made for that specifically. So I, after not having one when I desperately needed one, I now keep one in my gear bag without question. And anyway, but um,
handy.
and
Yes.
it's funny too. You talked about this being artist paradise, and we do compare Amelia Island to paradise often for good reason. I think that there's inspiration for people in a number of ways. I've never known a business community that was so varied of interests and new concepts here. There's something that just inspires people, and part of that is a great community relationship with shopping local and supporting local because there's just so much to do and engage with locally. You can buy most of your goods except for a few staples just from a local supplier. So many restaurants like Story and Song utilize locally grown produce or have herb gardens, things like that. You can certainly buy arts and gifts during the holidays. I frankly can't imagine how people could even look online when you could just take one walk down Center Street or drive down 14th Street or go down Fletcher and pass by a number of businesses and shop there. It's just it's definitely something that makes this community unique, and it's so special. Something I love, and I haven't lived here quite so long as everybody else, but so I'm thinking about, you said too, the ocean and the nature is a little varied here too. We're just big enough to have a little maritime forest. We've got dunes. We've got a few different environments. What what is some of your favorite when we talk about introducing other topics into art? Now I'm thinking about science and art. What's your favorite way to incorporate science and art? Doesn't have to be about nature. I'm just spitballing.
We do a lot of projects that involve natural materials, everything from shark's teeth to shells, sticks, leaves, all kinds of goodies that come from just your average nature walk or beach walk. And in addition to that, we do a ton of collecting of recycled materials at the studio because eco art projects are a big part of our curriculum. So right now we're actually collecting specifically Clorox bottles and laundry detergent plastic bottles. And those big jugs are going to be part of an exciting eco art project that we're going to introduce during our spring break art camp. And when we bring in an ecologically minded project that incorporates plastic bottles or newspaper or recycled paper, toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, we try and bring up the importance of conservation. And the kids really connect to these ideas through art making. And it helps them understand how, there are problems in the world when it comes to helping our environment and the challenges we have. And art is one way for the kids to not just understand, but, just open up and think on ideas, solutions. And so part of the discussion becomes waste and the importance of reducing, repurposing, reusing, recycling. And it's my belief that artists will eventually and hopefully help to bring about a resolution for all of that stress that we have on our environment. So with the eco art projects and a lot of these nature projects, it's real natural for us to have a chance to raise consciousness about environmental causes. And that goes too for certain painting, drawing, sculpture projects that are themed on our favorite animals. So it all ties together, and eco art and projects that have natural materials are some of my favorite activities in the studio.
Wow, Lauren, I just love you touched on so many different elements there. We've talked about how art and instruction and all the ways, you listed the different subjects you can factor in, but even just taking that one concept, science, I mean, you've touched on so many different things. I can't imagine the value that one of your students gets in art instruction. And I've said myself in the past that so much problem solving stops being about your knowledge in a specific area. It ends up being about your creative problem solving, whether I'm fixing an issue that's tech related or any number of things that we confront. It's about creative problem solving. And you said something along the lines of art as a creative expression, a tool for understanding these issues, and I resonate with that just so strongly. That's, if someone hadn't explained art to me like that years ago, who knows, I might be an artist right now.
And it's really fun to see the kids light up when they, are taking what's otherwise considered garbage and they apply a little creativity, put these elements together, and, they make something really cool. And when they experience that transformation from, discarded objects that would go in the trash, then all of a sudden they're transformed into something really special, a piece of art. It's a very magical thing to witness, and I love observing that light go off. And I just hope that that light continues. And I really believe that this next generation will have better ways of solving problems, and hopefully, art in their development is helping and is key in that. So I know you are totally aligned with that and connect to what I'm saying. So thank you.
Absolutely. Lauren, you clearly are the perfect teacher meets artist, and like I said, what you're doing for the children and for this community is incredible. And I'm so glad you have this new beautiful space that everyone can see and visit and do all these things with. And it's so exciting. And to have options inside or not, online or not, different things. I think one silver lining of COVID is that we've learned how to do a lot of things, but better to have the option of many things than stuck in one situation, only being able to do virtual or distance or online or something like that. So what is your semester of art classes that's coming up going to look like?
We are so excited to have launched our winter session in our new space. And last week we started classes, and our first week was a very exciting theme. It was actually Music Integration Week, and all of our classes focused on a specific piece of music by Peer Gynt. And there's actually going to be a children's concert with this composer, with this particular music by Peer Gynt, with the Amelia Island Chamber Music Festival on May 7th. The children's concert will be hosted by the Chamber. And I'm excited to collaborate because the projects that we worked on last week will be displayed in an art exhibit connected to the concert. So really fun to have music and art come together in such a fun way. And also the dance festival is collaborating on this special concert as well. So all of the arts together on one stage, I like to say. So we kicked off our winter with the music theme, and every week in the studio has a theme. That just helps me stay organized. It reins me in. I'm excited for this week because it is Harlem Renaissance Week, and each class will be focusing on a special artist from Harlem Renaissance. So we'll be highlighting Romare Bearden, as well as Jacob Lawrence, Augustus Savage, and Horace Pippin. So very excited to introduce these amazing artists to the kids this week. All kinds of exciting mixed media projects and paintings and sculptures will be getting developed. And the following weeks include Optical Illusion Week, which is next week, followed by Aquatic Week, all things under the sea, all kinds of ocean creatures going on. And our finale week, our last and final week in the season, is Kinetic Art Week. So these are the art projects that incorporate movement. So we're doing a magnet art project where magnets manipulate the paint. We have a few exciting explosive components going in, all kinds of fun projects that are definitely outside the box. And I think it's always fun to go out with a bang. So we have a fun-filled 6-week session underway, and then we're looking ahead to our spring break mini camp, which will be during the Nassau County spring break. It's just 3 days. It's a half-day camp, and that's March 15th, 16th, and 17th. And we'll be emphasizing eco art, as a matter of fact. So that's why we have all of our heavy-duty collecting of recycled parts right now going on with the Clorox bottles and plastic caps. And pretty much I'm digging into people's dumpsters, trash cans. If you see me on Center Street picking up trash, it's totally fine. It's normal. I'm just getting stuff together for the art lessons.
You should get out and help, or give you some trash.
I will be accepting all kinds of donated trash pieces. Thank you.
Well, Lauren, as we're sitting here in the art gallery space of Story and Song, I'm looking around at the walls and our current beautiful features, all of which are part of our current Happy Place book. We're showcasing the photos that most of which made it into our specialty book, one of our first self-publishing under our new label. And I'm just imagining some of your art, your students' art up on these walls. And I think that's something we've really got to make happen because, just the incredible amount of skill and interesting concepts and uniqueness that you bring to the assignments, coupled with the pure imagination and ability of these kids and students and stuff. I personally have seen a lot of it, and it's all so incredible. So I'd love for someday to see some of those pieces up here. And you talked about so many arts on the same stage, and that is so, that's so Story and Song, that's so us. Any opportunity to promote the arts, to work with artists is all what we're all about, and that's why we've only just launched our foundation, our Story and Song Center for Arts and Culture, which we're very excited about, and we're going to continue to do more with the arts, visual, literary, performing. I'm still hoping to see some dance festival performances up here. We're working on that. But anyway, it's just been so great to talk with you tonight, Lauren. You are such a treasure for our community. We're so lucky to have you on the island. We're lucky to have you as our friend here at Story and Song. And I just appreciate you coming in so much.
Thank you so much, Connor. And one last thing I want to say is I feel so lucky to be connected to Story and Song, and this opportunity means so much. And in general, I feel just so fortunate that we have a community that cares about the arts and is focused on furthering arts and culture here. And just look at my studio, all of these families that are invested in their kids' arts education. I just want to give a shout out to all of our valued customers that understand the importance of art in their kids' development. And I thank them for their continued support. And thank you so much for this chance to talk. It has been so fun. Thank you, Connor.
Absolutely. And we look forward to featuring more special guests covering everything from the arts, the culinary arts, local business, the literary community on the island. As we've said, we just have such an incredible, rich community of people with skills and interests and personalities and history, and it is rich earth to till. So thank you so much for listening in, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.